All right, everyone. Hey, welcome to Talking Turkey Fantasy Football Podcast with myself, Kamish, Manny Jimenez, Mile High Tim Lewis, and everyone's Big Cup of Joe, Cody Williams. Welcome, guys. Welcome. So glad you're here. Big week to talk about. We had some major updates this week as far as the league goes. Overall, the NFL had some really great games this weekend and very disappointing games when we expected some really good games. Some big injury news to talk about. All right, some high-profile players who have really just hit their injury list. Well, they haven't even hit the injury list yet. They're waiting to go on IR. I don't understand that motive by the teams either, but we'll talk about those players coming up, and we'll kind of work our way through and see, what's going to be the best option for you going forward as we go through week 6 here. Week 7 is the Bipocalypse, so we're going to be helping people get ready for that. You're going to have people you are targeted on the wire to be able to get through that because I think 7 teams are on bye during the Bipocalypse, so that's pretty wild. That's a lot of big fantasy implications there. So we'll help you get set up for that. But let's get right into it, guys. I hope you've had a good week and a good breakdown of what's happened so far. And what kind of Cody, we'll let you talk about the matchup, the first one there on the list against I call this the Brady Belichick effect, right? We've been having this discussion on who's responsible for this success of this team, and we have this scenario going on in our league too, right? Cody and Ricky shared this team forever. They've had a couple of championships. They've had this great run. They're finally split apart, just like Belichick and now. And now we're starting to realize who was the one who carried the team. So Cody, you are in the Tom Brady seat, so tell us about that game.
This was a fun matchup. Of course, Ricky and I have a lot of history going back to when he first joined the Air Force. He asked me to run his team for him with permission from the league, according to him. And that was his first year where he won the championship with me running his team. And so there's a little asterisk on the trophy, or at least there could be by his name, since he didn't really have much to do with it. And then I got my own invitation to the league a few years afterwards and won a title on my own before he was able to win a second one. And then we ended up joining forces. And then from there, we had won one title and then had one second place finish. And he started feeling a little confident coming off that title run and that second place finish, and decided it was time for him to spread his own wings, take his team back again and have his own spot. So we have broken up. The divorce is finalized. We've drafted our own teams. We've gone through the matchups, and this was the first week our teams actually met and went head to head. The final score, I ended up winning 84-80. Was pretty close to actually ESPN's projections. I think they projected me winning 87-83, so it was almost right on, which was surprising. It did come down to a Monday Night Miracle. A touchdown by Jacoby Myers really pushed me over the top and gave me the points I needed to beat him. It's just this was Ricky's Super Bowl, and he ended up losing it, unfortunately. He's had problems with his trade. Evans wasn't playing. He was on a bye. Mostert didn't. He did pretty well for him. He got I think 12 points for him, but did also fumble again in that game. His pickup, Brock Purdy, I think he got him for free. I don't think anyone else wanted him after week 2, and he got him for free, and he's been his leading scorer ever since. So he did have me scared Sunday afternoons going into Sunday night, and then Purdy goes off. Samuel gets some points as well. Going into Monday, I did not feel good about Myers getting me 10 points, and he ended up with 14. It was really Josh Allen carrying my team. I can't credit anything else besides drafting him in the 3rd round. He, I think, is the #1 scoring quarterback in our league, and he's been the only steady mainstay on my team besides my kicker, 49er kicker, Jake Moody. He's been a mainstay as well, scoring me points. But Josh Allen, he's been my rock, and whenever I have tough times, I turn to him. He scored 30 points for me in London, not even in his own home country, of all places, and almost mounted a comeback against the Jaguars. But yeah, it was a fun matchup. There's a lot of trash talk and a lot of oh, I'm screwed, you won. No, I'm screwed, you definitely won, back and forth between us. And I'm just happy that I came out on top. And good luck to Ricky making the playoffs. I feel pretty good about my chances, not as good about his anymore.
Right. No, I see it the same way. I think your team's right and high. That Josh Allen pick was excellent. Ricky made a great pick of Brock Purdy. I think we've all underestimated him. I know, Tim, you probably got some thoughts on what you've seen from him so far. But yeah, Ricky's team when your defense is put up 9 points and his third best player put up 8 points, I think if Debo would have got a touchdown on Sunday night, he probably wins the game. He wins the matchup.
Well, he would need only 4 points, so 6 would do it. You're correct.
Yeah, 6 would have done. Yeah, so that touchdown definitely made a difference. Not getting that, but Ricky's team is in much better shape than it is. That was just a few weeks ago. So he's definitely got some ability to stay up high. Get into the playoff running. Tim, what do you take away from that Sunday night debacle that we expected a great game from Cowboys Niners, and then Niners just come out and light them up?
I don't know what I was thinking. Thinking it would be a close game, but I mean, I think most people did. But they just completely took out Micah Parsons. He was invisible the whole game. I don't even remember him even like getting a pressure. And I think that was the difference. I think you see that if any team can do that, which is probably easier said than done, that Dallas's defense is probably not great. But Brock Purdy just made some amazing throws. I mean, you could see some they showed from, kind of behind him, so you could see down the field kind of what he's seeing, and he just sliced up their zone defense. He made some great throws in the tight windows, and obviously George Kittle had a monster game, one of his, 3 or 4 big games that he'll probably have this year. So, but yeah,
and McCaffrey didn't even have like that great of a game. He did score a touchdown, but I think they held him to only like 2.5 yards per carry. So they tried shutting down the run game, put the focus on, making Purdy win the game, and he went ahead and did it.
And I think they just had Kittle kind of, chipping on Parsons, and then he is running a lot of routes, and they just couldn't cover him. And it's just weird that, the Cowboys have now been on the receiving end and the giver of a Sunday night beatdown. So we'll see how they respond next week, but they certainly did not look ready to play. So
yeah, lined up for another primetime game. The whole country gets to see a lot of the Cowboys. So, and this volatility is going to be very evident with them going forward, and we'll see if they can bounce back or not. But we'll talk about that matchup later. We definitely did not. We all expected a close game. Let's not, maybe Cody expected a little bit less of a close game, but
closer.
Yeah,
I don't think no one saw 30. What was it? 42-10 was the final. I mean,
yeah. And it could have been worse. McCaffrey fumbled inside the 10, like fumbled somehow on top of, like, just gave it to the defender.
I think that was a great play by
the
player. He just ripped it out of his hand as they were falling to the ground. It's pretty awesome.
And he wasn't down because he was on top of them.
Yeah. So
I don't think the 49ers really kept their foot on the gas too much. I mean, Sam Darnold came in, played almost the whole fourth quarter, I think.
Yeah,
starters got pulled.
Dallas
just did nothing on offense. So
I actually appreciated that for the Niners. Is you were up by so much, you knew you were dominating every facet of the game. Why risk injury? Why risk getting Brock hurt, getting IU, getting Samuel hurt? Didn't make sense. So I'm totally good with that. And I even thought Dallas, why do you have the starters until late? Pull them out. And even Mike McCarthy, halfway through the fourth, pulled out the starters. Just wrap it up. Just keep these guys injury free. It's a long season. You still got some time to go. Chalk it up with one game. That's it. But yeah, congratulations, Cody. You got that big one. Now there it goes. Now Cody is proving to us that Tom Brady was the difference in that Bill Belichick-Brady relationship.
You're making him Belichick? I guess Belichick this year. Yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah, Ricky's Belichick this year.
Yeah, Tom Brady's proven that too.
Maybe I'll win the title this year and just retire from the league.
Oh, man. Next matchup, Andrew versus Alex, the two guys.
This was kind of like the Sunday night game.
This score. Andrews, man, he got Cooper Kupp back, which was great. I was happy for him. And Cooper Kupp, oh my goodness, welcome back. It was great to see. It's like he didn't even miss a game. He get targeted almost 15 times, the 12, double-digit catches. Incredible. Yeah, I mean, he was lights out again. He just does what he does, and glad to see him back. But outside of Kirk Cousins and Cooper Kupp, Andrew's team, very, very, very dismal situation for them. And then he went up against ChatGPT, and ChatGPT's team just looking solid as ever, right? Almost averaging 100 a game. I'm actually, Alex is definitely going to be a team to watch out for. especially with the Niners defense and Mahomes. When what are you expecting him to do when he gets later in the season? He really hasn't made any moves. If you guys have seen that, there's been 0 moves by his team. He hasn't spent one dime. So it's kind of incredible. He's drafted an excellent team.
I mean, yeah, his friend really helped him out, drafting an excellent team for him. He hasn't had any injuries to his roster. Even some of the guys from his bench were like DeAndre Swift, so he was able to slide him into a starting lineup after week 2 and just keep on moving, keep on trucking. So it's a really well-built team, built to last. It depends on how the playoff matchups will end up panning out for him. But he has, last week I proclaimed Angel as my man crush team. If I didn't just hate Alex and his friends so much, it might have been Alex's team. But look at the competition though. Andrew, when you look at his lineup, he's still starting Dalvin Cook. Like, this is a serious thing that's happening in our league. Even 2 weeks we've been telling him to drop him. He's still starting him, getting him 2 points each. He's getting a couple zeros as well. He still has Cortland Sutton that he's starting, getting 1 and 2 points every week for him. Last week he couldn't crack 50. This week he couldn't crack 40. So I'll be interested to see if he can crack 30 next week. It'll be something I'll be watching out for. I don't know about you, Tim.
Yeah, it's kind of good news, bad news. Kirk Cousins has been pretty good, but now Justin Jefferson's going to miss a month or, more maybe.
Yeah.
So you get Cooper Kupp back. Hopefully Austin Eckler will play this week. That's obviously been a huge loss for him, but yeah, I think there's some moves that could have been made. They could have helped him maybe get a win by now, but just not sure how Kirk Cousins is going to do without Jefferson going forward, but hopefully he doesn't have to start Dalvin Cook anymore. So,
you would hope so. Looking ahead at his schedule, he has Edgar and Romo back to back this week and next week. So if he doesn't get a win out of these next 2, because I think both guys are currently out of the playoff race right now, his schedule is going to get a lot tougher going against Carlos and then Javi and then Rob again and then Tim. If he doesn't get a win within these next 2 weeks, I don't know if I see him getting one all year long. And Manny, you're the historian here. You're the commish. Has anyone gone through a winless season in Turkey Bowl?
There was 1 year where it got real close, where somebody just got down to 1 win on the regular season.
Okay.
So we might be seeing history in the making here. Yeah.
Wow.
It's really
I hope not.
Situation.
I'd hate to see that, but it's just it's not been a good start, that's for sure. So, but
especially when it's your first year in the league as well.
Yeah. Well, we've talked about this numerous times, right? People come into this league and people who've played fantasy casually. The problem is a lot of us do a lot of our homework. We're very much invested in it. We've playing a long time together.
A couple of us even have a podcast about fantasy football.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a lot of time that's invested in understanding and just looking at potential outputs and potential projections. And so, Andrew will learn and he'll get there and hopefully he sticks around with the league. But yeah, it's going to be rough. Najee Harris, it was a person who was kind of on my radar as a no-go fly zone even before the season started, and it's proven not to be truthful. I mean, look, he got 3 points for him. That Steelers team was just offensively god-awful. They just can't really produce any points. If any back on the team is Jaylen Warren, and who Rob has, right? I mean, he's the only player worth having right now on the team. Pickens too, probably. But just rough side. And there's a couple guys that, as you go through your process, like, I got to stay away from anyone on that team. And there's a couple players like that. Same with like the Panthers, right? But I mean, Panthers right now have one player who I'd love to have, but he's also rostered as Adam Thielen.
Yep.
Mr. Garbage Man can, the Garbage Man can just, he's getting
on Rob's team.
Yeah, on Rob's team.
Man, he's man crush.
He has all those garbage time points, and real football to fake football on fantasy is a very, very different sport, and he's got a great team that's doing that. So
yeah.
Next matchup, Romo versus Edgar. Again, 2 guys that are kind of down in the bottom of the cellar. But Romo, my goodness, a big blow up with 124 points there. As I was watching that game, I was like, oh, Romo's going to take the points this week after such a slow start to the season. Jamar Chase, 44 points. Big blowout. This is what we expect from the Bengals. The Bengals have been a great offense there. Joe Burrow's been struggling. We don't know how bad that calf injury is. He looked great, but he also did the thing that I always scream about in fantasy football and in real football is you have those Jamar Chases, you have the Devontae Adams, you have Justin Jeffersons. Why are not they getting thrown to 15 times a game? Why are you not just force feeding them? These guys are special dudes. They're going to catch it in double coverage and triple coverage. It doesn't matter. They're going to catch the ball. And, so Jamar Chase was the squeaky wheel last week and he went off. I mean, he was right. What did he say? I'm open. I'm always effing open. And he was.
Yeah. I mean, part of the reason, with Higgins not playing, I really expected Arizona, who their head coach came from Philly. He's a defensive guy, defensive coordinator. Just double team Chase and then make him have to throw the ball, make him have to win with Mixon and Irv Smith. And he was just open every play. One touchdown he caught, the next closest guy was 5 yards away from him. I don't know what the defensive game plan was there. But part of the reason Chase looks so good is because Burrow was starting to look better. His pocket movement, I don't know if you guys watched any of that game. His pocket movement was better and he was even scrambling around a little bit. Before the season started, Chase said he wanted Burrow to take time off until week 5. Here it is, week 5, and they're both blowing up. So somehow he knew, somehow he could tell the future. It's week 5, and they're both kind of going off right now. So he knew.
Yeah, I'm almost hesitant to believe it until I see it for a second week in a row because they've kind of, they've alternated wins and losses so far this year, I think, and their losses have been pretty bad. Especially on offense, but yeah, it's certainly a good sign for Romo. And Chase is obviously a great receiver. I think Arizona, they may have been trying to double him and just couldn't. Who knows? I didn't watch a ton of the game. I saw highlights basically, but from what I saw, it looked like Burrow was moving around pretty well, like you said. So hopefully that's the case going forward, and the Bengals offense can put it together again next week. I think forget who they play this week.
The Bengals this week are playing against Seattle.
Which is, it's not a scary matchup at all. It's in Seattle.
Could be a high-scoring game.
But it could be a high-scoring game. Seattle, doesn't stop the run that well. They're in the bottom half of the league when it comes to stopping the run. So as a Mixon manager, I'm hoping that Mixon has an opening game. I want to see the offense do well because as the Mixon manager, if they're going to be lighting up the scoreboard again, Mixon's going to get that 15 to 20 touch game that I'm expecting. And he finally started getting a lot of touches his last game. So it was his most productive game this last week. So it was encouraging to see that. But I'm hoping that they can open up that offense a little bit. And then that trade I made up with Ricky, that's what I was banking on, was that Bengals offense finding their footing a little bit. So we'll see.
Looking at the matchup, I think Romo should. We kind of talked about a little bit last week where his team seemed solid. It just never quite had players kind of perform well at the same time. And here he's got 3 players that end up going off for over 30 points. Breece Hall, as we've seen the highlights, the highlight reel when he finally breaks free, he's not as fast as, Achane, but he can break away and he's gone. And then Etienne's just getting all the touches in the backfield there. And so he's doing well. And then poor Edgar, somehow he won the title last year. He's 1-4 this year. He had to start Josh Reynolds, who actually had a good game. That was a pretty good pickup by him and good play. He just, went against a dude who had just a monster game. And even with the monster game, it wasn't even our highest score.
Yeah. You have three dudes almost put up your 100-point total. That's pretty good.
Yeah, actually, looking at the score, I think just those 3, if Romo would have played them, would have topped Edgar's team. So it's pretty rough because I think Romo also lost Richardson with the shoulder injury. So I don't know if Richardson even scored a point. He might have had a 0 from his QB and still put up 124.
I think he got 1 from Richardson. Yeah,
1. Okay, but if that's a normal Richardson game, Romo could have put up 150.
Oh yeah, he would have been the weekly winner. Yeah. I feel bad for Richardson. This is the second time this year you brought him up. He's been injured. He had a concussion early week 1, missed the game. Now he's, he took that shot. I don't know if you guys saw it. He took a really hard shot at the sideline. Landed. I think they called it a grade 3 shoulder sprain.
ACC, yeah.
Yep. So he'll be out for some time. It's I want to see him do well. So it's unfortunate that he's taking so many big hits early on, and it's very likening it to the Andrew Luck situation again, right? The Colts get this great quarterback into place, and then they get him beat up early on. So I'm hoping that's not the case, but
part of the deal is he's, a rush first quarterback in a way. So they're really sending him out there, whereas Luck would be in the pocket just getting manhandled.
Oh, yeah.
It's a little
they
bit
just
different, but
couldn't
you would
block
think,
for Luck.
he's such a big guy. Yeah. You would think he's such a big guy, like almost like a Cam Newton didn't really have these issues early on in his career. So it'll be interesting to see how it progresses from here for him.
Yeah. But Gardner Minshew, we'll talk about him. Fire him up. I mean, he's got some great weapons there. With Jonathan Taylor's back now. We can talk about that too. Javi's team. We'll talk about Javi's team. He had a lot to say over the weekend with the Jonathan Taylor sighting on Friday, and he's like, "Fire him up! Here we go. My team's unlocked." Right? He was like counting his team as a level up, and I was like, "Oh, what happened here?" But going back to Romo's team though, ETN, Breece Hall. Breece Hall looks great. I'm so glad coming off the ACL. He looks like as good as it advertised. And again, that's only going to help the Jets and Zach Wilson essentially if they can get that run established and then get eventually open up the passing game a little bit. Because right now, if they're keying in on Breece Hall, they know they're going to just pick off Zach. So that's huge for the Jets. And they actually have life too, right? Their record is 2-2 at this point, or 2-3, and they might hold on for dear life here. We'll see.
And Romo's team might even get a little bit better because he's the guy in our league who has Addison. And with that Justin Jefferson news, I could bump Addison up. He could have Addison and Chase, which could be big for him.
Could be monster, yeah. So,
I would bet that he's most happy with the ETN game though, because he hasn't really done much yet. He finally, I watched a lot of that game because it was the only game on. It was the early game, and he had that dagger touchdown run, and it was a pretty impressive run. And so he was a slow starter last year, I think, too. So, obviously starting 0-4 is not ideal, but if ETN and Chase can keep it going, then he could put up some much better scores going forward.
Well, I mean, if he's averaging 110 a game, I mean, he's definitely always going to put himself positioned to get big W's, right? So,
easily.
Yeah. So. Good on you,
big W's. Speaking of big W's, we got a one coming up here between Carlos and our commissioner.
Yeah,
first loss, Manny.
It's
gonna happen sometime.
I took my first L of the season. It was as I discussed last week, right? Where I said Carlos, he's my arch nemesis when it comes to he and I started this league 20 years ago, and we've always had very, very close battles. Some, if we look at our overall record over 20 years, it's probably really close to 50-50, but he's beating me in the bigger games. He's taking us a championship away from me, so it's kind of a bummer. But yeah, we always, set our teams up to try to position ourselves to win. I lost on Thursday night. Let's be real.
It was over.
we watched the lowly Bears just blow up, and DJ Moore blow. I think we saw DJ Moore's best game of the year. He was incredible.
Maybe best game of his career.
Yeah, I mean,
probably.
Yeah, 230 yards, 3 TDs. He was feasting big time on Thursday night. So, and we've seen this all year so far on Thursday night, right? Even when we see a bad matchup so far, it's turned out to be some guy, random person. Well, no, he's not random. He's a great wide receiver.
But somebody becomes fantasy relevant and impacts matches single-handedly.
Oh, single-handedly. And,
right, Tim?
Yeah. I remember.
Tim's got two of them.
Yeah, Tim's been the victim a couple times.
Yep. So no, this
not like that though. I mean, I had 33 from Montgomery, which that got robbed the win kind of, and then
the Purdy and Debo.
Yeah, which it was like 40 points combined. So nothing like what you had to face this week.
Almost a 50 burger from DJ. Yeah. So as soon as I saw that, I was like, oh, really? I'm gonna start 47 points in the hole. So I was like, okay. And then he has Saints defense, and I knew that they're gonna shut down New England. So he's second best team, 23 points, New England, and then he's got CJ Stroud again, only 15 points, but CJ is just really doing really, really consistent, really great football. He's the only quarterback in the league right now with no interceptions. I mean, he's awesome. So I think, well, maybe Brock. Does Brock have one?
I don't think Purdy's thrown one either. But to start his career,
Purdy does have one. I think.
Oh, he does have one. Okay. Maybe he has one.
Yeah.
Okay. I did see a stat. Well,
Purdy probably has the more fantasy points, so I would guess just because he's been
Overall,
a lot more
maybe.
consistent.
Yeah.
I think Purdy's averaging 200 yards, 2 touchdowns a game, right? That's kind of been the average stat line across the board every game.
Yeah, approximately. But Stroud is a rookie. I mean, if this is considered a bad game for him and he's still scoring, 15 points, that's not bad for someone who's just coming in the league and someone who's on the Texans. When has the Texan ever really been fantasy relevant? You'd have to go back to like Arian Foster.
Yeah, Deshaun Watson while he was there.
Yeah, Deshaun
Oh
Watson.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, Deshaun Watson
Will
and
Fuller
Hopkins, I went back too
occasionally,
far.
but yeah, I mean, Arian
Yeah.
Foster's the most consistent Texan
Yeah.
you can probably think of. DeAndre Hopkins when he
Yeah,
was there, maybe.
D-Hop, when
Yeah.
Nuke was balling when he was there. When
But-
Oh yeah, for sure.
But you
Yeah.
got to be excited if you're a Texans fan, that for a rookie to come in and he looks comfortable, very poised, makes great throws, and so lot to be excited about there. So,
And if they can get Pierce going, they'll be going to be in a good shape, right? I mean, he's had a very slow start to the season, very similar to Josh Jacobs. Jacobs actually had a good night on Monday night against the Packers. Packers looked terrible. Let that horrible defense. I don't even want to discuss it. They got my cheese head in the back there, but yeah, Packers just coughed up that game away. But Jacobs and both Pierce are starting to get their feet under them, and if Pierce can kind of get back to the just even 80% of the form that he was at last season, they'll be a really, really good team. It'll take a lot of pressure off CJ, and he'll have a lot of play action to throw off of. So yeah,
it's kind of anyone's division too.
Oh yeah.
I mean, the Jags I think will probably end up winning it again, but it's it's very close right now, and it looks like it could go. Probably any of the teams could end up winning it. It's hard to say at this point, but
Yeah, all 4 teams are only 1 game apart. The Colts and the
Yeah.
Jags are 3-2, and then Texans and even Titans are still 2-3. So they're all just going to keep beating each other up. And I mean, we might have some kind of replay of that NFC West year where the Seahawks were 7-9 and made the playoffs and hosted that playoff game. So I mean, we'll see what happens there.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good division though, right? Those games are actually exciting to watch. They've been fun. I mean,
Oh
in
yeah,
the past handful of years, those games have been like letdowns. Like, oh, here we go. I don't want to watch the AFC South matchup, but now it's actually like it's pretty fun to watch. So I'm excited, and they got good quarterbacks. Right, Richardson when he's healthy, CJ Stroud now, Lawrence. So yeah, the division's full of really good quarterbacks. It's exciting to see.
just ignore Tannehill. Move on from there. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll ignore Tannehill. But I made some waiver wire pickups to try to combat Carlos this week. I thought I had Sam Howell playing on Thursday night. Well, he had a good game, 23 points. I was happy with that. Considering he had 0 points at halftime, I was like, I went and put up Halloween decorations after that. I was like, forget this. But then I was like looking at my phone. I was like, oh, he's starting to score back, and then got a 23. So if he would have played a complete game, probably would have been a 30-point game. Still wouldn't have been enough. Carlos, just put up a monster number. I am happy about. I had to play a couple of players because I had Kenneth Walker on by. I had
Rashid Rice.
Yep. So I played Rashid Rice, and he got a touchdown. He's the only guy on KC right now that I see has an opportunity. And we all were like, oh, when we saw Kelsey twist that ankle, all of us were like, oh no, Rob. But if we don't, they play on Thursday night. Kelsey might not be 100%. Rashid Rice is the only one I'm saying. He's always been second on the team, and for the last 3 games in targets now, I see him being the one that's going to potentially finally be the wide receiver to get something going, because since Tyreek left, they have not been able to fill that secondary position, that secondary pass catcher. What do you guys think about that?
I mean, Hill's just such an impossible guy to replace. He's got such a unique skill set. I mean, you can't just let him go and replace him automatically. They ended up replacing him by adding offensive linemen and supporting Mahomes in other ways. But he's a rookie. They've taken shots like trading for Tony, taken shots on some other guys. Sky Moore they drafted, had high hopes for, and he's not really panning out. So it's not like they're, obviously they're trying. But you're right. They tried Juju. He didn't work out. They sent him to New England. So they're they just have a cast of characters that keep rolling through. Will Rice be the most consistent one? Maybe. He still doesn't have an overwhelming snap count from game to game, but it seems like he's a guy who they're starting to get going and trying to get going. He might be their next guy.
Yeah, we've talked about it, and still, none of the KC wide receivers have stepped up and really, taken over a lead role. So it seems like someone's got to do it at some point. It just comes down to maybe this week. They play Denver, which is obviously a great matchup, but they do have Pat Surtain, who is a shutdown corner. So if he's up against Surtain, he might not do much. But still, none of the other guys. I can't remember a highlight involving Sky Moore or
MVS,
Kadarius Toney.
Yeah.
Other than the
Besides
lowlights from week one.
Yeah, all the drops.
I think Valdez Scantling had he was an angry run candidate, but it was his one catch. He stiff armed a guy to the ground, but otherwise he never does anything. So yeah, but it'll be interesting if Kelsey misses any time. It seems like he's okay. It looked bad at first, but he's obviously going to get force fed as long as he's out there. If he's not, I don't know how good that offense is going to be. So
yeah. And I mean, looking at Carlos's team, he has Kamara, who just came back for him. So he had him, while he was suspended. He has Stroud, but he also has Goff on his bench. And I think Goff outscored Stroud this week. So he can, with Stroud being a rookie, you're going to have that roller coaster ride. He does have a more stable mainstay that's, on his bench at quarterback that he can always kind of plug in and play. If he does need something a little, maybe less high ceiling, but also something a little more stable. Plus he has Amon-Ra, who he had to, bench. So he could have had possibly an even bigger week if he was able to start some of his better players.
Yeah. Actually, after the afternoon games, he was 133. I thought it was locked up that he was going to be the weekly winner for weekly payout, but we'll talk about our last game when our last minute victory with Tim there, stealing away the weekly money. So good on job on you, Tim. But we'll talk about the big matchup of the week. Two undefeated juggernauts, Angel versus the Big Kahuna. Cody's man crush versus my man crush, and
yeah,
Rob made me look like a genius. So thank you, Rob. Angel, I don't know what the hell happened to your team.
Let me down.
Had a Andrew-like performance.
That's true.
Angel. So during the week, we had our cast last week, and we talked about free agents. Angel went hard at McLaughlin, and it paid off. He got 14 points for him, but he did drop a hefty $25 on him. So it was a little bit overpaid there, but he needed some fill in, and he got decent production at him. Puka
He needs a running back. Yeah, bad. He's got a bunch of receivers.
Landscape is brutal. Yes. Puka had a great game. We were all worried with Cooper Kupp coming back. What was Puka going to look like? Was he going to get targets? I think it's a two-headed monster there now on the team. We saw Tyler Higbee be the one who got affected and not get any target, or got one target, I think, throughout the whole game on that. So.
And same with Van Jefferson. Van Jefferson's now shipped out.
Gone.
Yeah. So he was the guy outside looking in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can talk about Matt Stafford in that game. I mean, Matt Stafford now, he's definitely a player, if you're looking for a quarterback that you can target and play with confidence. I mean, if Cooper Kupp is there, and if Puka's that good, and Tutu Atwell's their third wide receiver, right? Their slot wide receiver.
Mm-hmm.
That's a pretty good core, right?
Yeah.
So. Yeah.
And that's someone I think, Tim, I don't know if Tim foresaw that coming. It was a little unsure when Kupp was coming back, but Tim picked up Stafford a couple of weeks ago. And so I think that's, working out for him and maybe looking good in the future as well.
I hope so. Although, I mean, I should have started Fields this week, obviously, Captain Hindsight, but, I can't complain too much, but it's definitely his prospects for having bigger games are, a lot better now with Kupp back. That's a good set of receivers, and they don't have much of a running game. I mean, I think Kyron Williams is good, but they just don't seem to be super interested in running the ball too much. Yeah, so they're probably going to be slinging it around a lot. So
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, Rob's team, put up 124. His team showed up. Angel, my man crush, didn't. Tush push. I don't know how many touchdowns Hurts has scored off of it this year alone. It feels like 2 every single game. Poor Swift, but Hurts again is his high score. It feels like every week he's putting up 25 plus week to week off Tush pushes alone. And even the Pittsburgh defense coming through for Rob here, scoring 21 points. And then his guy, his favorite pickup, everyone's favorite, draft pick of the year, it seems, Montgomery. Didn't get him 30 this week, got him 20, though, and you can't argue with that. Went over 100 rush yards, got a touchdown. And A.J. Brown working together with Hurts got him another 14. And then, of course, Kelsey got hurt, and it was kind of probably that moment of him melting on the couch again. But he came back in, and Kelsey himself ended up with 14, which from the tight end position, you'll take all day, every day of the week,
Might as well be 50 points from the tight end.
It certainly feels that way. And so I just want Angel to know I'm really disappointed, Angel. I was backing you. You were my man crush. That team was looking good. I felt good about your receivers, your quarterback, Lamar. You had an Andrew-like game. Couldn't even put up 60 points, and Rob over doubled you in this huge matchup. And yeah, Manny's man crush Rob. If I'd tell Lindsay to be careful, but I don't think Rob makes enough money to be within Manny's Manny's little bracket there for crushes. But man, it was. I really expect a lot more out of Angel. It didn't really work out. It was another blowout. A lot of blowouts this week. It seems like. Is that something? I don't know. Looking back, have you guys seen a lot of blowouts, or it feels like there's only one close matchup, and it ended up being me and Ricky.
Yeah, no, a lot of blowouts this week. A lot of one-sided affairs. And typical.
I doubt Angel expected McLaughlin to be his top scorer this week.
I don't think any of us did.
I don't remember the timing of when Jefferson got hurt. How much of the game he missed, but
I think he only had single-digit points, right? You only had 2 or 3 points. He went out
two.
early.
Yeah. He went out fairly early, I think, and that's obviously a massive blow. But sounds like he won't. It's not a season-ending injury, luckily. Cody and I have already unfortunately lost a couple running back each to season-ending injuries, which is the worst, especially this early. So at least we'll get him back, and he's 4-1, so it's not over. But yeah. I'm sure he's not too happy about the state of his team at the moment.
No, yeah. He really annoyed at that. He posted a couple of funny gifs of him, jumping off buildings, and I was like, relax, man. You can lose 4 straight games and you'll still be 500. Chill out.
He'll be in the playoff race for sure.
Yeah, you played it right. You got your early wins, so you have to always assume, right? When we play this game, people are going to get hurt. You're going to lose your guys. That's why we have bench rosters. No one stays healthy. That's the unfortunate. And he's lucky it's not a season ender. I think his is more of we can guarantee he'll be back in 5 weeks, as opposed to Achan, who we'll talk about next with Tim matchup. They don't even know how long, right? It's still he's going to see a specialist and see what they're going on. And so those situations are way more volatile for me and are clouded. So we'll see what happens with that. But Rob, keep going, keep powering through. Rob, I want to see you go, 14-0 into the playoffs and then losing that first round, buddy. That's what I want.
I'd like to see that too.
Yeah. We want to watch the
kind of like what you did last year, Manny.
Yeah.
I don't know if you were 14-0, but
that was 2 years ago, I think.
Right?
2 years ago.
No, last year too. I was top record.
No, last year was myself and Edgar.
Well, no,
first second.
First second. So the year before.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
It's 2 years ago.
It was 2 years ago.
Yeah, last year I was number one. 2 years ago I was number one seed, and then
that was when you had Brady.
And then lost to the Saints.
Yeah, that's right.
Brady had his
Evans game against the Saints.
Laid an egg. Yeah.
So,
anyway.
All right, Rob. Well, good on you. Keep it going. Keep firing up Monty and let it rain. Last matchup, Javi was riding high on Friday when Jonathan Taylor signed that 3-year, $40 million contract. Javi was spitting fire out. He's like, team leveled up, team activated. And I was even like, Javi just got a big lift to his team. But Tim had great players. Tim is pretty much Team Miami, and Team Miami putting up big points as usual, right? Tyreek Hill, 29 points. Achan, what's crazy is Achan's only had 15 carries in 2 weeks, and he's been the running back 1 and 3.
In our league, he's the running back number 2 overall. After not getting carries the first essentially 2 to 3 weeks.
Wild.
Yeah.
So, so big numbers there. Even though George Kittle had his career game, Tim didn't even, that was Javi's biggest player. How he started Jonathan Taylor, I don't know if I would have done that right after signing the contract, having no training camp, having no time with the team, essentially. But Javi fired him up, and guess who was the recipient of all the carries with the Colts?
The guy on his bench.
The guy on his bench, Zach Moss. Another monster game, 100+ yards, 2 touchdowns. Zach Moss has been incredible. So, yeah, I don't know if Javi's carrying both those players, how do you navigate that situation? When is Jonathan Taylor going to get the full complement of backs, or are they going to just keep Zach because Zach's been so great for them? Are they going to just split time evenly across the board? And that really, if you own both players, if you have them both on your roster, it's like, how do you start both, or do you just go with one and hope one has a better game than the other? It's brutal.
In this situation, I kind of have a feeling it'll turn out a little bit like the Breece Hall thing, where it starts out kind of more 50-50. They want to get Jonathan Taylor and still get Zach Moss involved. But then once you kind of see who the clear better player is, you'll start to see Taylor just take over more carries, especially in close games. I mean, they're going to want to win these games, so then they're going to keep going to their better running back, which clearly Zach Moss, Jonathan Taylor. It's clearly Taylor. The coaches came out before the game. I was surprised Javi had started him because they said they were going to start him off slow. They weren't going to give him many touches. Javi said, "No, I don't fall for your tricks. I'm still starting Jonathan Taylor, benching Zach Moss." And turns out the coaches were telling the truth on that one. But I think probably over the next month, we're going to see Jonathan Taylor really take over, because it's not like Zach Moss is a receiving threat. He's not going to take third down work from Jonathan Taylor. It'll just kind of be a slow grind. But after about a month, that's when Javi's team will level up, possibly.
Yeah, I was a little surprised that he started Taylor too. I think a lot of people who drafted him probably did. They've been holding on to him this long. He's finally back, and it's like, yeah. But I think it's easy to kind of expect that they're going to ease him in, and that he might be a little rusty too. But I think it's kind of got to be a little bit nerve-wracking to see Zach Moss go off like that, especially against the Titans, who are not generally an easy team to run against. But
toughest team in the NFL to run against. They allow the lowest yards per carry,
and they lost Richardson early.
And I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure if they've had given up a 100-yard rusher in a while, and he had like 150.
Yep, not this year. He's the first one.
So it's not, it's not ideal if you have Jonathan Taylor. If Zach Moss is playing like that, I've never thought he was very good either. But maybe it's change of scenery has done him good. It's hard to say. But if it's going to be a timeshare, that's obviously not what you wanted to draft Jonathan Taylor for and hang on to for a month and wait for him to start playing. But maybe they end up trading Moss. I don't know. Maybe some team will throw out an offer for him, buy high on him, and maybe that'll unlock Jonathan Taylor. But I don't know. I think Jonathan Taylor is definitely the better running back, though, just based on what he's done so far. And I'd be surprised if he doesn't take it over at some point. But just wasn't too surprised that he didn't get much work this week.
We're going to call Zach Moss the poor man's David Montgomery.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
No,
seems that way. Yeah.
I think, at least
all the volume.
At least in Javi's case, like you hate when you lose a game because you started the wrong player. I'm sure he's kind of okay with it because obviously, I had the high score of the week.
Yeah,
it wouldn't have mattered. And, his team, all his Cowboys were against the 49ers, which didn't help. And
another week where the Cowboys lose and Javi loses. As the Cowboys win, Javi wins. As the Cowboys lose, Javi loses. It's uncanny.
He did start the Colts defense over the Cowboys, but I'm sure he wouldn't have wanted the Colts to be his third highest scorer. So
no,
just not a great week. But
when your kicker is your second highest scorer and your defense your third highest scorer, yeah, it's a tough week of fantasy football for you for sure.
It's got to be tough. Javi's got to be one of the only people that had Kittle on his bench and had Kittle on his roster and still lost. I'm sure there's not too many people that had that breakout game happen and take the L. Yeah. But I mean, he went against a beast of a team. Tim, this might be Tim's second week as the high scorer, maybe, if I remember correctly.
I've got two wins. They're both the weekly high scores.
There we go. Yeah. So yeah, 2 is high scores. Give us a breakdown of your team, Tim. You're here on the podcast. You're the high scorer. How do you see your team looking now, and how do you think it's heading in the future?
Well, I want to ask about, we're watching. He's sitting there under Carlos at 133, and then he sees the Jets have that late rally touchdown to take the weekly points. So. Were you kind of like hoping for a defensive play like that, Tim, or you just kind of resigned to the fact that Carlos won the week?
Well, that's why I picked up the Jets defense, because I expected that to happen at some point, either a pick six or a fumble six, just because it's Denver, and they're a good defense. And so, Russell Wilson's, and I wasn't even concerned about getting a high score. I don't care. I just want to win. I was sitting at 1-3, and all I was concerned about is just getting a win this week, because I did not want to end up 1-4. I'd feel a lot better about my team if HN wasn't going to miss however long. I heard there were rumblings that he injured his knee. Mike McDaniel downplayed it. And then now I find out today that he's possibly going to miss a month, might go on IR. It's like, well, I don't even know what happened. Hopefully it's nothing major, but that's a huge blow, because he's my only good running back. So
I don't know why these coaches think that like lying about it is good for their team. Yeah, we saw this with Dayball with Saquon, right? When he got the ankle injury, he came out and said, "Oh, it's a minor ankle sprain, lower ankle sprain. You'll be day to day," right? And then it's like the day before the game was supposed to be played on Thursday night, they report a high ankle sprain. Well, we all know high ankle sprains is multiple weeks out. Like, come on, dude, what are you doing here? Like, why? I don't know if it's a coach's way to play tactic games, but it seems like McDaniel did the same thing. Okay, instead of Achan had a knee injury, we're gonna evaluate it and see how it goes. Instead of just downplaying and say it's not that bad. Like, it seems weird to me why they do that.
I think that was right after the game. I was like post game, so he may not have known yet. I don't know. And it's like we talked about, we don't really know when he got hurt. Don't remember seeing him limp off the field. So he might have been surprised too to find out that he had an injury. And so I don't know if it's one of those where he's intentionally downplaying it, or if he just at the time really didn't know, or maybe didn't think it was much, because he probably didn't see him limp off the field either.
Yeah.
So, it sucks. I mean, the dude's just, he's so fast. If he gets a little crease, he's going to be impossible to catch. He's not very big, but he's got good vision, and
when he turns it on, he's gone.
Yeah,
lightning in a bottle for sure.
Yeah, with him and Tyreek Hill on the field, that's got to be just such a nightmare to try to defend that. But we'll see. Hopefully it's on the shorter end of an absence, but not feeling great about that. So
I know the running back position is, we've talked about it, hard wasteland right now, trying to get people. We'll talk about who to pick up, but it's very, very difficult out there in the streets. Getting running backs that are going to be consistent for you, just probably the most difficult position to fill right next to tight end right now. Right receivers, you can get them off the waiver wire, have blow up weeks here and there. Even quarterbacks can do the same, but running back, tight end, those are two positions that are really, really hurting so far.
At least in a standard league. If it's PPR, maybe half-point PPR, there are other options you can kind of go out and grab, and they'll still get catches and get you points. But in standard league, like our league, it is tough, man. You got to earn those yards and get those touchdowns.
Yeah. I'm just glad that Justin Fields put together back-to-back good games, and he's got some pretty easy matchups coming up. So I hope he keeps it going, because I'll probably need him to put up some points for me.
Running yards, that's right.
Yeah, but we'll see.
Speaking of Justin Fields, there we go for week 5. Rankings 1, 2, and 3 across the board at position. Justin Fields led all quarterbacks for the week on Thursday night with 33 points. Good on him. I saw some teams that had the stack, and I was looking through some of the fantasy football commentary out there in the X universe now, and we call it Twitter anymore. Some people were playing against the Justin Fields DJ Moore stack on Thursday night. And
brutal.
Booked the golfing outing on Sunday.
Brutal.
They're making toast. So
that combo alone would have beaten half the teams in our league this week.
Pretty awesome to see. But there again, Josh Allen, Cody talked about it. Your guy just keeps getting it done. Josh Allen is awesome, amazing, love him. My wife's a big Bills fan. We all know that, and she loves watching Josh. Even she wakes up for the 6 a.m. London games, but she's very upset. Like a lot of the Bills fans, her best friends were actually at the game in London, and they're very, very upset because the Jags got to stay there 2 weeks, and the Bills traveled, so they blamed the jet lag and why the Bills didn't play well. Who knows? But
it had to be a factor. You gotta consider it in. It is an advantage.
Yeah. So
yeah.
But the Bills are in good shape. They'll be fine. Maybe that's just a down game that they have.
Well, they were coming off a huge win against Miami too. So
yeah,
a lot of times when teams have a big win like that, they have kind of a letdown the following week. And the last time they played the Jags, they played them tough. I think the Jags won the last time they played the Bills too. It was like a 9-6 game or something like that, from what I remember. It's like I think that was a couple years ago. But anyway.
Yeah, those London games, they're rough.
Yeah.
And we're gonna see another London game this weekend, and we got 2 games in Germany.
Yeah.
5 European games this year. Wild scheduling by the NFL, but we'll see how those players rack up. But number 1 running back for the week, Zach Moss, as we talked about, right?
Yeah.
On the bench. Montgomery on the bench. That's right.
Yeah.
Travis Etienne, though, good for Romo.
Number 2 and number 3 on Romo's team. Yeah.
Romo's team right there, being carried by his running back. So nice.
He still couldn't get high score of the week. It's rough.
Yep. Carlos was waving that DJ Moore start right in my face after Thursday night.
As he should.
As he should. Yeah, 47 points. He was the high scorer on the week. So good for you, DJ Moore. But Jamar
back to Romo's team.
Yep, back to Romo's team. Right. Look at it. Right? Romo had a lot of the guys this week just blow up. You too, Tim. Tyreek Hill's there.
Yep.
I want to highlight tight ends for the week. Right. We talked about the tight end landscape being just brutal and not being being able to start people who are consistent, who are going to drive 7 to 10 points a game. Hobby started George Kittle, good on him. But Ricky, Dallas Goedert's highlighted because he was on your bench, 20 points. Alex Benitez, Sam Laporta. So he's got Sam Laporta, and we're going to talk about Sam because you can see Sam down there for the 2023 season. He's the number 1 tight end in football and in fantasy. How many times do you think Alex has started Sam Laporta? That is right, Tim. 0 times. 0 times.
Because he's got Hawkinson. And so I was going to mention that earlier when we were talking about his team. Like, at some point, he's got to trade one of them, right? He's got, I don't know, Hawkinson hasn't really done much, but now with Justin Jefferson out, who knows? He might get more targets, but so far, Laporta's been, the guy. I'm surprised he hasn't started him yet because he's been the top 3, I think, the whole season at this point. So
it feels that way. Yeah, it certainly feels like he's getting touchdowns every week. I don't know. I think Alex is just waiting for his friend to tell him what to do, and then he'll actually make the swap once that happens.
It's hard to convince the bots to trade with you, man. There's some alphas out there, and they don't really get back to you. The bots just kind of reject you. So,
and we talk about the tight end position being such a wasteland. The number 2, number 3 scorer are both on the bench. That means people have 2 tight ends on their roster. If Ricky would have just held strong with Goddard, he's been swearing about him all month long. Made the swap to Ertz, he would have actually won this week. Might have forgotten to mention that. Goddard on his bench, in the starting lineup, might have gotten him the win against me, but I guess we could just move past that and just look at these defenses here.
He did the same thing I did last week. He gave up on the tight end that he was starting.
Yep.
And he lost because of it. I did the same thing last week with Cole Kmet. So
you got to learn from your elders' mistakes.
That's why I'm sticking with 1 tight end. I'm not gonna roster 2 because I don't want to deal with that. That'll get me so annoyed to see my guy on the bench blow up and the guy start. I'd rather just start 1 and know he gave me a bad game and move on with my life.
Yeah, like everyone else.
Exactly. But Saints defense, Carlos had a big week from them as well. Steelers, they were a surprise defense of the week. I thought Lamar was going to shred them.
Yeah.
But AFC North games, always tough matchups. And the Steelers Mike Tomlin knows that division so well. He knows how to defend all of the quarterbacks in that division. So the Steelers,
Ravens were dropping passes too. I think they had 7 drops. 2 or 3 of them were actually in the end zone. So they shouldn't have had 21 points, but
it was brutal. That was definitely one of those things that kind of
tough
flew
one to
under the
watch.
radar, I think. But that's definitely the reason the Ravens lost. But they always play tough. I think for the last 5 years, Steelers Ravens games have probably gone under 40 every
Maybe
time.
more. Yeah.
So yeah.
And then rounding off the last defensive week, Jets. Tim's good.
Tim's pickup last week.
Yep. So it's good to see us have a lot of guys out there. Or you two guys. I didn't have any this week, but for the season, Josh Allen, number one quarterback in the season with 117 points.
Yeah.
He's all fantasy players. So good on
He doesn't need a tush push to get there either.
Doesn't need the brotherly shove. The brotherly
Yeah.
shove. The brotherly shove is there, but the brotherly shove is right behind. He's in his way right into that second spot, pretty handily. So Jalen Hurts had him last year. He's a great quarterback. I know Ricky hates the brotherly shove with a passion. He complains about it every game.
As he should.
Just deal with it. It's here to stay. I expect more quarterbacks to do it. As you see more athletic and more strong quarterbacks like Justin Fields, Jalen Hurts, more quarterbacks like that enter the league, you're going to see more of this tush push, brotherly shove.
Other teams are trying, but they're not executing it like the Eagles are. So you got to hand it to them.
Players hurt trying to do it.
Yeah. I mean, and the Chargers, I think, tried to do it unsuccessfully with Herbert. So it's
it's not easy, I guess.
It seems like a BS play, but you got to be able to execute it, and they pull it off. I mean, no one. I don't know what their success rate is, but I don't think I've seen it stopped at all.
I think they're over 80% success rate.
And the scary part is on third down, if they get stopped, they're going to do it again on fourth down.
Oh, yeah. They know they can do it 4 plays. Yeah. No way they're not going to.
They got 2 chances at it with an 80% rate success. It's going to happen.
But that's what we've been screaming about forever and ever, right? Like these groups that are 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, you got 2 plays to get 1 yard. Why aren't you just going to try to get that first down?
A direct line, shortest distance.
They're just doing what we've all been begging for teams to do, and now we're like, damn, that sucks. It's a crappy play.
Yeah, and once teams start, actually finding a way to combat it, then that's when some of the play action and the fake, brotherly shoves happen. Maybe a toss to the tight end over the top. That's going to really be scary.
Who was the quarterback who did the face QB run a couple of seasons ago and then threw it over the top?
I think that was back in college. I'm not sure who it was, but I'm pretty sure it was in college. I saw that.
Maybe it was Justin Fields who did it in college. Yeah, but I remember he made that QB sneak and then he just dipped it over the top because they all jumped in. I was like, oh man, that was pretty. Yeah, tight end just slipped right behind everybody. Pretty wild. But CMC leading all running backs so far.
Look who's number 2.
Who's number 2 on not even 20 carries on the season, and
I guess 2 and 3. I mean, that's amazing.
Yep. I did trade Raheem Mostert away to Ricky. I'm still feeling good about that trade, but now Raheem's going to get a whole lot of work over these next couple games. Jeff Wilson is coming back, but I don't think he'll get rotated in our way. So Ricky is going to have a couple good weeks from Mostert, I believe here. And Raheem is a great pass catcher out of the backfield. He's not as fast as Achane, obviously, but
older.
Older, 31 years old.
But he might have been back in the day. I mean, he's fast too. But
he's fast.
But it's incredible seeing the guys, the number 2 running back, didn't get any carries week 1. I think week 2 got 1 carry. And was cut in our league. Yes, I know it was Manny. And so these last 3 weeks, 99 points in the last 3 weeks. It's incredible, and both.
It's totally unsustainable, but I mean, it's
still incredible to see.
Yeah, and even though I did drop him after week 2, after we got 1 carry, and I'm like, oh, they're not going to use this guy. And then Tim ended up picking him up and on the waiver, spending the big fab on him. I did not want him to see him go down. That doesn't make me happy to see that because I like seeing the explosive plays when he's taking it to the house for 75 yards. I think it's great. It's great for football, so it's fairly unfortunate. Wide receivers, Tim's all over the field here with the top guys of the season, which is surprising. He's gone up against matchups that have had high scores against him. That's probably what we're talking about. The Thursday night matchups have been putting up big numbers, but he's got 2 guys there who, solid production. So number 1 wide receivers on Tim's roster, number 2 wide receivers on Carlos' roster, DJ Moore. And then
half that total came in 1 week.
Yeah, half that total came in 1 week. That's right. So good on you, DJ. And then Stephon Diggs,
We're back to Tim's roster, another guy on Tim's roster.
Yep. So I'd say Tim's got the best wide receiving core, even though Angels got spread offense going. Tim's wide receiving core is definitely the most consistent there. again, tight ends. Sam Laporta just going to ride the bench. Poor guy. We'll never see him put those 48 points to use.
He's a rookie. Alex just doesn't like rookies. Maybe next year. There's better years ahead for him.
Let's look at the disparity, though. The highest scoring tight end, 48 points, compared to the top 3 wide receivers have basically double at least. Top running backs, it's just not even close. So
look at the defense. The defense almost got double.
that too.
Yeah.
So but Travis Kelce, Mark Andrews, you expect those two to be leading the tight end room, right? That happens. But defense, Cowboys defense really got that monster game from the Giants,
and the
Patriots. But outside that, they've been very volatile, right? They got -1 in this last matchup against the Niners. So
and then -3 against the Cardinals 2 weeks before.
Yeah, so volatile defense there, but still, you want those boom weekends, right? You want those boom blow-ups because that's what's going to help you win those weeks, right? Boom matchups are big time for you. Bills defense, Cody, that's you, I believe. So
no,
Ricky.
Yeah, Ricky has them. Ricky played the Bills defense against Miami 2 weeks ago. It was surprising. They ended up with 30 points, 33 points. I thought he might have cut them, but no, he held strong, and they even had a good performance last week against the Jags. Yeah. And they're losing players left and right on that defense. I think they're up to 3 players now. Milano was on crutches or in a cast after the last game, so we'll see if it keeps up.
But last week to the
Davius White,
and then they lost Milano this week. So
there's someone else I think that they lost this week too. I can't think of, but those are 2 huge.
So we'll see. They're up there right now. They've been holding strong, but we'll see if they're able to kind of maintain it and stay up there.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough. Those are not players that you just replace. So you're right.
Yeah.
But I think Carlos probably has the most consistent defense, I would say, in the season with the Saints. They're just always a good defense, but they've had a couple booms this week. They've essentially shut down New England so bad that everybody's talking about Bill Belichick potentially being fired. I mean, that's a pretty great performance by the Saints there. So.
And unfortunately, that was the team I had cut after week 3. They had a tough matchup coming up, and I thought I could cut them and pick them up the following week, and Carlos was right on it.
Right on it, yeah. Yep. The league's real smart. They know who the guys are and who they're targeting, and everybody has their favorites and who they watch. So, they're always watching after the waiver wire, right? After see who got dropped, and then go put in a claim for that. So it happens all the time. All right, but that's the breakdown. Where the standings go, Pick Kahuna's 5-0, still perfection. Playoff percentage should be at 150%. But I'm sitting still at second place, even though I took the big loss. But I hope to bounce back this week. I have not an easy game. I'm going up against Ricky, but Ricky will put up his best shot. But I hopefully get back on the winning track there. Cody and Angel rounding out 3 and 4.
I got a game against the Big Kahuna coming up, so I'll just be 4-2 after this week.
All right.
We got to enjoy it while it lasts.
Yeah. All right. So, Angel, hopefully he'll have a bounce back week. Alex, I foresee him getting into another next 4-win column there, and he'll drop up. Javi's team is interesting. Again, he's going to have some decisions to make when it comes to Jonathan Taylor and those things. So I anticipate he'll start Zach Moss this time and not make that same mistake, but who knows?
We'll see how the scoring works out. A lot of Javi's team just depends on how the Cowboys do, so we'll see.
Tim can get back to 500 after a W this week. Who do you have, Tim, this week? Because their matchup?
I'm playing Edgar.
Edgar.
Was it Angel?
Yeah,
Angel.
Oh.
Okay.
All right.
So Edgar's got Andrew.
All right.
Playing Cody's man crush, so
we might have broken up after last week.
Both of you guys are dealing with big losses on the team. So
I think Jefferson and Achane kind of maybe neutralize each other at least this week, so that'll soften the blow a little bit. But hopefully I can get to 500. So.
Yeah. So I got Carlos out of the dumpster by letting him beat me this week. So
letting him.
With this 133,
never surrender. Yeah, so good for him. But hopefully some of these guys, either Ricky or I see Romo getting that second victory this season. Andrew's the guy I'm worried about. Andrew, we were highlighting there because we got a little taco next to his name because he's leading the taco march. We're excited for that barbecue. I think we're already picking out the meat. If he goes 0-6, it's pretty much a done deal. That's a hard hold to get out of. We'll see, but
I hope he can afford that dry aged steak we're getting.
dry aged steak. Yeah, I'm gonna send him to my meat guy, and my meat guy has some aged old Spanish, big lamb chops ready to go.
Tomahawks.
Oh yeah, some tomahawks.
Oh, yeah. Imported from Barcelona.
So Andrew, get ready. I'm excited. And Andrew comes from a long lineage of like really, really great barbecuers. His grandfather is like the best barbecuer in the family. So I'm really excited for that. So it's a great entry into the league. So thanks, Andrew. We're glad.
Yeah, what a guy.
Waiver targets for the week. All right. And I'll run it down here. My top to bottom. I like Derek Carr this week. I know he didn't play that great against New England. It was the more defense, but with Kamara coming back, he's obviously have that safety valve to throw the outlet. We're starting to see Olave get his feet back under him. Michael Thomas, he's been one of the most consistent wide receivers on the season. He's averaging 7 or 8 targets a game, averaging 70 catches a game. So he's doing great. He's not catching the down the field stuff anymore, but he's been a great safety valve for Derek Carr. I see him having a very good game this week. The matchup is very favorable in his realm. So he's my start of the week at the quarterback stream position. If you need a quarterback, especially with buys coming up, the next 2 weeks are actually pretty favorable. I think it's Carolina and someone else. So, look at Derek Carr
this week. Yeah.
Houston this week. And after that, Carolina. So, yeah, they're going to be throwing the ball. Definitely. Houston's going to be throwing. So, who do you got there, Cody, as quarterback?
I got Gardner Minshew with the Richardson injury. Minshew's he's a safe floor, so especially with bye weeks hitting and other quarterback injuries hitting, he's guaranteed to get you at least 15. Probably won't get you more than 18 and 19. So I wouldn't, if you got to try and go a little riskier, maybe go with someone else. But for a low floor, he's got some good weapons in Pittman, strong running game, and now Moss and Taylor. So I would roll with him just to try and get someone who's probably going to play for a couple of weeks with Richardson's shoulder injury, and then it'll be a high floor type move if that's what you're looking for.
Nice.
It could be about a month.
Yeah, maybe more. Grade 3 could be a while.
Oh yeah, it could definitely be a month. It could be IR potential there. Yeah, who knows? But at least minimum 2 to 3 weeks. So you're good there. Yep. What about you, Timmy?
So I'm all about second chances. You guys know I've been I wouldn't say hater. I just never really thought Baker Mayfield was great. But this year he's showing something. I mean, especially if Mike Evans plays this week, he's got some relatively easy matchups coming up. Detroit this week could be a high scoring game. Tampa Bay has a good defense, but they may have to throw a lot. So he's got Detroit this week, Atlanta next week. What else? At Buffalo, not a great one, but then Houston, Tennessee. So
yeah, that's 1 out of 4 matchups that are plus in his favor. Yeah.
So, yeah, with bye weeks, he could be a good bye week fill in on a lot of those weeks. So, and I think he's like, at least in our league, he's like 12th as far as scoring, scoring average out of all quarterbacks. So
yeah, he's a QB1.
Yeah, right. He's got good receivers to throw to as long as Evans is there. So
yeah.
And go ahead and take it down to your second player, Tim.
So the running back for Arizona. I still don't know how much time James Conner is going to miss. It's one of those
I think
other.
They finally put him on the IR, so it's going to be at least a month.
Oh, at least a month. Yeah, that's news. Okay.
So, I mean, obviously, I think last week I don't know if Arizona had just 2 running backs on their roster because DeMercado got all the snaps in the second half. I think he got all the running back snaps after Conner went down. I don't expect that to happen every week. I mean, that never happens at all. But he looked pretty good. He's an undrafted rookie, but looked pretty impressive from what I saw. And, Arizona's a team that likes to run the ball. They're more competitive than we expected. They play the Rams this week, which is not maybe the greatest matchup, but if he's going to be getting the majority of the snaps for the next month or longer, that's definitely a good pickup.
Yeah. So the Cardinals, they just picked up Tony Jones Jr. because he got cut by Saints, so they just signed him. But the guy who was getting reps behind Connor was Keontae Ingram. And Keontae Ingram was doing okay, but he actually got injured last week as well. So that's why we saw, Imari DeMarcaro get in there. And, he looked good. He looked great. I definitely love the pick there. So, very interesting to see. But Tony Jones won't get into the mix early on. I think he's
I think Ingram hasn't really shown much. I mean, not that he's been given much of a chance, but from what I saw, it looked, DeMarcado seemed a little bit better than anything I've seen Ingram do, which is not very much to date. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it shakes out. But it's worth the gamble, I think.
How much fab would you spend on him? Knowing that Connor's now on the IR.
Yeah, it's hard to say. It depends how desperate you are. If you're desperate like me, you might spend a little bit more.
$75 bid. Here we go.
That's exactly it. It's about desperation and about how bad you're.
No, Achan. I saw Achan play, and I was like, no, that guy. I thought about spending all my fab on him, and I was like, no one's going to spend that much, so I toned it down a little bit. But he's no Achan. But maybe $20. It just depends on. If you don't need a running back, you're probably not even looking at him. But if you
it's
just
like between a 10 to 20% fab, maybe, right? Again, depends how desperate you are.
Yeah.
Who you got, Cody, for?
So yeah, I got Roschon Johnson. Khalil Herbert getting hurt means Roschon, as long as he's cleared from his concussion, he missed, the second half of last game, getting hit in the head. The Herbert injury, watching it, because it was the Thursday game, watching it live, it seemed like he was going to be a season ender. It seemed like he was done. It was a really bad pass from Fields. He had the twist and contort, and his ankle got caught in the grass and the turf there. And I thought it was a knee injury, ankle injury, maybe both. But he was jogging on the sideline, seemed ready to come back, came back for one play. They gave him the ball, and then he just went down. It was like, oh no, I'm done for now. And so he might actually be out for a couple weeks. So Roschon Johnson, I think Angel has him in our league, but in other leagues, that's an offense where they're going to want to be a run first team. Roschon was, I think it was Bijan's backup at Texas. And so he didn't really get a huge chance in college, but the few chances he did get, he looked good. And people have been calling for him to, become the starter over Herbert so far this year. So this is his chance. We'll see if he can kind of take the role and run with it. And if so, it might kind of push Herbert down on the depth chart there.
I didn't see. Did Herbert did it end up being a high ankle sprain?
I don't know if they've said what it is yet, but it looked pretty bad.
But I knew when he came back in, obviously it wasn't super.
Yeah, the report right now is a high ankle sprain, but they haven't given a timeline.
But good on him for trying to come back. That's usually a month-long injury, so for him to try to tough it out, gotta respect that. But that was obvious. So he took the ball and he got tackled for a loss because he just couldn't cut.
Couldn't move it. Yeah,
came right off the field immediately.
Yeah. And Roschon's been touted as having great hands out of the backfield, right? Potentially, being a great pass catcher. So yeah, I see him getting a ton of work. I definitely agree there, Cody. So yeah, I think a lot of people, if our league obviously he's already taken, but other leagues will spend fab or spend that waiver priority on. He's a high target for sure.
Yeah.
Me, it's a stinky one. It's an ugly one. Zeke Elliott. I
don't even know why 42% of leagues have him. It makes no sense.
and it's only because Ramondre has been really, really bad. I mean, they're virtually at 50% snap share now and carry share. So I look at the matchups too coming up. Las Vegas this week. That's the only reason. Like, if you need, it's a desperation play again, right? We're talking about you need a running back who you think's going to get that punch into the end zone. We just saw AJ Dillon do it. We all know what Tim feels about AJ Dillon. And so if we know Zeke is better than AJ Dillon, he can definitely punch one in.
I drafted both of them. Dropped them both already. But yeah.
So, the Raiders are susceptible to the run right up the middle, and Zeke can, if somehow the pass can muster some offense and get close to the goal line, you know Zeke's gonna be running because Ramondre is just not getting those touches right now. I mean, I think that's the bigger narrative with this team is we expected Ramondre to kind of be the workhorse, and he just really has not taken over that role. So Zeke, if you're in a pinch and you need a running back desperately, and you probably get him for, you know, $0. Yeah, exactly. $0. So dart throw there for you.
In fact, I would even say go ahead and pick up Zeke and try and trade him to your opponent this week. See if you can get your opponent to actually start him.
That was why I drafted him. I thought the Patriots defense would improve, the offense. But yeah, they look like a dumpster fire right now. So I don't know. I don't know if Mac Jones is the answer. He's just got benched again. I don't know how many times he's going to get benched before he loses the job, but they're not even sniffing the red zone, you know. So it's like there's no goal line carries to be had there because they're not even getting near there. But but like you said, though, it is pretty much a 50-50 split at this point. If they can figure something out, I don't know if the Saints obviously were a tough matchup, but I don't feel like they've had too tough of a schedule thus far, but they just have an atrocious offense. It might be the worst offense in the league right now. And and there's the Panthers too. So
it's brutal. But after the game last week, Belichick said, they're gonna have to go back and kind of start over. Maybe they start tanking for Caleb Williams. That would be one way to start over. That could be what he meant by that. So it'll be interesting to see how they kind of approach it moving forward if they do tank for Caleb and try and get in that sweepstakes.
Interesting call there. Yeah. My wide receiver was weak. Actually, so my Zeke Elliott was a real stinky pick. It was a desperation play like there. But DJ Shark, I actually like what I've seen out of him. He's healthy now. The only reason I like this matchup is because even though Carolina is not a good team, they're playing Miami. We know Miami's going to put up the points, so it's going to force the same thing. It's going to force Carolina to truck that ball around the yard. Adam Thielen's getting all those garbage time points. We've even seen Jonathan Mingo get in the mix here, but DJ Chark, we've seen him have great success before the Jaguars. He's a very good receiver. He's got good speed, great hands. So he had 6 targets, 3 catches last week. 40+ yards, and a touchdown.
With the touchdown, that was a couple touchdowns
against Detroit, and Detroit's a very good defense. So I expect DJ Chark to be a main target for terrible guy over there.
Bit of a revenge game for him.
A little revenge game for him.
So, but I've always kind of liked DJ Chark too, but he's always hurt, I think, and injuries have kind of derailed him a little bit, but yeah, they're definitely going to be behind that entire game. I'm sure. I'd be surprised if that's even a close game. But they're, Bryce Young might have to throw 40 times at least. So.
At least, and you're expecting garbage time touchdown there, right? I mean, Bryce Young's going to be in there till the fourth quarter. Miami will probably be up by 30 points, and so what do you got, Cody?
So I got KJ Osborne. Addison's well drafted and well held, so he's not a good pickup just because his percentage is so high. But with Justin Jefferson missing time, KJ Osborne's been the guy who's been out there for all their 2 receiver sets over Addison. Maybe now he'll start to see his target share rise. He's not a great receiver. He's kind of barely a good receiver, but with the volume play in that offense or pass first offense. He would be a guy that you could take a shot on just if you need receivers over the next couple weeks here, especially with bye weeks coming up. I would take a shot on him, hope the volume works out his way, and he gets a couple touchdowns in these next 4 weeks before Jefferson comes back.
That's the drops, man. The drops just kill me. I watch him play, and I just see him drop easy balls, and I like, dude, you're a professional. Come on.
But if you throw him 14, and he catches 7, that's still, going to get you 60 yards and maybe a touchdown.
He did have the occasional good game last year too, I think. Drops are definitely his biggest issue. He's otherwise he's not. I mean, that's the most important thing I think for a receiver. But he's still, he's a decent. Looks to be a decent route runner, and can get open, but doesn't really matter much if he's dropping it. So
now, now, if he had the hands of your guy Tim, that would be almost perfect situation for KJ. But yeah, go ahead and talk about your guy.
Josh Downs. He's gotten 33 targets so far this year, and now he's got Cody's pick, Gardner Minshew, coming in, who's a little bit. Not that Anthony Richardson is I don't think a bad passer, but Gardner Minshew's definitely more of a pocket quarterback, more accurate on the short and medium throws, and Josh Downs is kind of that's his niche. He's catching short passes. No, I don't think he has any touchdowns yet, but he's definitely getting a lot of targets, and would expect that to continue because there's not really anyone else there in Indy that's stepped up as a number 2 receiver. Their tight ends, I can't even name them. They've got
they still have Mo Alley Cox.
They've got like three tight ends that occasionally it'll be a different one every week that catches like 3 or 4 passes, it seems, and so the other guy is Alec Pierce, who's more of a downfield threat, it seems. So he kind of fits that role in a unique way for him. And in another league, I believe Manny just traded for him. So I think Manny supports your pickup as well.
Most definitely. So you look at week 3, he had 12 targets. Who was the quarterback then? It was Gardner Minshew. Exactly. This last week, Gardner Minshew came in the game. He had his second highest, or 6 targets, 6 catches on the game. Again, his biggest yardage output of the season. Quarterback, Gardner Minshew. So definitely correlation there.
Yeah. So I don't think he's going to be, he's not going to have any monster games, but the target volume's there, and I think Minshew playing for the next 4 weeks or so, however long it is going to help the passing game. I don't know if it'll help the offense overall necessarily, but the passing game should be a little bit better. So
hey, as long as it helps their fantasy team, that's all we're here for.
That's right. So go ahead and talk about your last 2 picks there, Tim. Greg and
Greg Dulcich, Broncos tight end. He's been on IR. They activated him today. He's in my opinion, he's a good pass catching tight end. I mean, I've been impressed with him. I watched him at UCLA, made some big plays there, and he's got the Weird Al curly hair coming out the back of his helmet. But the Broncos passing game has just not really done much. Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy, I don't know if they're ever going to happen. They just, to me, they're not impressive, and they haven't gotten any production from tight ends at all. So I expect him to, come in and definitely help the passing game. And he's not really a good blocker, but definitely a good pass catching tight end. And then I got the Jaguars defense. I know we talked about a couple of Colts already. They play the Colts at home this week. And you guys maybe know this, but when would you say the last time the Colts won in Jacksonville?
In Jacksonville would probably be I'm going to say 2016.
I'm going to say before that. I'm going to say the last time Andrew Luck played a game for the Colts. So yeah, but 2015. Yeah, I would say around the same time, right? That's when he left.
2014.
Oh,
okay, wow.
I even tried overshooting it.
Yeah. And they're different teams now. It's like you can't. I guess the Jaguars are pretty much the same as the last couple of years, but I don't know what it is, but the Colts just have not had any luck playing in Jacksonville since 2014, and some of them have been blowouts. They've been shut out. They've scored single-digit points. So I don't know if that'll happen this week, but there's just something about that matchup.
They're like an indoor cold weather team, and then you go and play in the heat outdoors in Jacksonville.
Yeah, Philip Rivers couldn't do it. Matt Ryan couldn't do it. Yeah, so it makes sense. I mean,
couldn't do a lot.
And the Jaguars have been, they're a top 10 at least fantasy defense so far this year. I think they're 7th in our league. So, they're a decent defense, and then they've got with that history. It just, I don't know if this is the Colts team to break that streak, but Gardner Minshew's got the, I guess you could call it revenge narrative, although I don't think he probably has any hostility towards the Jags, or
anyone really.
Right. Yeah. He just seems like he should be in a metal band, but so
Yeah, Jack's defense is a top 10 defense for sure. So yeah, they've been consistent.
Surprising, yeah.
Almost 50 points on the season. Yeah.
Cool. For myself, I have Logan Thomas. I see Manny agrees with me here.
100%.
On the Washington Commies over there. He's a guy who's a red zone threat for them. He's getting a lot of targets. He's missed a game, and I think still ended up with 25, 26 targets on the year. As we've talked about many times, tight ends are so rough. You guys saw what the top 3 tight end scores look like. I mean, number 1 hasn't even broken 50 points on the year. So I for my tight end pick, I want someone who I think has a decent chance to go ahead and score a touchdown here against Atlanta. Their linebackers aren't great at coverage, so I would think this is a matchup you can exploit. If you pick up Logan Thomas, you need the tight end. He has a good chance to get a touchdown here, I think. And then of course we have the Chiefs. Manny graciously put who they're playing. Denver, yes. I would play the Chiefs. The Chiefs probably score quite a bit early in this one, I would assume, because of how bad Denver's defense is, which kind of is going to force Denver to have to throw the ball more, which is exactly what you want with your defense, because then that defensive line can just kind of pin back and go and get sacks. And so far in this year, Russ has been sacked 16 times, so this could be a matchup where the Chiefs defense could get 4 or 5 sacks. Maybe if they start pressuring him, he starts feeling the pressure, he can give you a turnover or 2. And then from there, your defense might have 15 points, and that's really what you're looking for when you're picking up a defense.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
Logan Thomas had a good game this week. I mean, I think it was probably mostly in the second half, but
yeah, it had to be.
But Washington's defense is not good. I mean, obviously you let the Bears score 40 points on you. You got some problems. They haven't really stopped anybody this year. So they're going to probably be playing from behind in a lot of games. So as long as Logan Thomas can stay healthy, that's the big thing with him too, is injuries. I think he's had a lot of concussions, and he had one this year on a dirty hit from a Denver player.
Dirty hit,
very dirty hit. But I think he had like 9 catches, around 70 yards, something like that, and touchdown this week.
And a touchdown, yeah.
I mean, that you can't ask for more from a tight end unless you got Travis Kelce. So
he's a top 10 tight end this season, right? And he's already missed a game. So
yeah. On the year, he's number 10. So in our league, yeah.
So good decision there. Hopefully it's a dart throw, but yeah, again, they'll most likely be playing from behind, not positive game script. So
someone can pick him up and put him on their bench, and then they can have him go off on their bench. How about that?
Yeah, there you go.
There's 3 other guys that are doing that.
One thing I noticed with Sam Howell, even though I liked him a lot, he does take a little bit long to get the reads out. So Logan Thomas is right there as an easy safety valve for him across the middle. So that's exactly why.
I don't want to get off track here, but we got to bring it up again, Andrew. You got to drop the Commanders' defense.
I was gonna say it, but I was like, I'll let it go.
Please.
We're talking about him. Is this the week he finally does it?
I have no hostility here. I'm just saying, like, please pick a different defense. They are not good.
Anyway, we're giving you 3 defenses right here that are gonna.
They're the 28th ranked defense, which is actually surprising. I mean, I guess I could think of a couple that might be lower, but they're not good. They haven't even played really great teams either. I mean, they played Chicago, they played Denver, they played Arizona, and they're still ranked 28th. So,
but they get Atlanta this week, Tim. Maybe this is the week.
Chicago was supposed to be the week, right? And I mean, it's not going to happen. They're terrible.
Can I talk you into 10 days ref? Stop Thursday night.
You have 2-3 defenses in the top 10 that are still available on our waiver wire. Any one of those 3. Come on. Any one of those.
They got a combined -5 points in the last 3 weeks. So, just please.
It's a great call out, Tim. Great call out.
He wants to show off his barbecue skills.
And you know what, Andrew? Just to close out that nice little button, that little point there by Tim, I'm picking the Falcons defense. Yeah, they're not they're just outside the top 15. They're not that great of a defense. The thing is, they don't give a lot of points, but they don't score a lot of points either. What I see here is what I saw last week from Washington. Washington's offensive line is banged up. They gave up a lot of sacks. Sam Howell got sacked 6 times last week. So Falcons have an opportunity to get to the quarterback this week. And playing at home, we just saw what they did against Houston, who's a very good offense. Even though there's no sacks, no interceptions, they held them in check. So Falcons, go for them. They always are a tough team at home, and they're just getting better. Washington is definitely a team that's Sam Howell is good, but he's going to take sacks, and he's going to take multiple sacks. So Sam Howell's the most sacked quarterback on the season.
Yeah,
there you go. He
just got sacked. Yeah, he got sacked by the Bears 5 times. You know how many sacks they had before that all season? 2. He had 2 sacks the entire year, and then they come to go to Washington. Or I don't remember if it was in Chicago. Sorry, but they sack him 5 times. I mean, he definitely holds the ball too long, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. So,
right,
yeah.
So Andrew, please, heed the advice.
begging you.
All right, but so let's get to the closing of our show here and talk about the biggest matchup of the week. That's going to have a lot of fancy implications. Is Cowboys versus the Chargers. Cowboys at Chargers. Cowboys is coming off that major loss to the 49ers. Chargers coming off that bye week where they're fresh. Herbert still has that finger issue. We're not sure if that's going to affect him or not. He's had 2 weeks to get healthy, but it's a non-throwing hand issue, so hopefully it's okay. But implied point total, 50 points. So they're expecting a lot of points because both defenses, they're expecting Dallas defense to not be still as good as advertised. And Chargers defense, Tim can speak on that. They have their deficiencies outside of Bosa and Mac. But Cowboys are favored, which is kind of shocking. Again, I'm probably putting my money on the Chargers at home. And maybe that's a fool's bet, but
I mean, at those Charger games, it's 80% road fans, so it's a home game for the Cowboys.
That's a good point. It is SoFi is Cowboy home away from home.
There's Cowboys fans at every game too. I mean, they're everywhere. So, but yeah, especially against the Chargers, it's at least half the opposing team's fans in the stands, if not more, probably more with the Cowboys because. Like I said, they're just all over the place. But I'm hoping that I haven't really checked the injury reports. I know, before the bye, the Chargers had a lot of injuries. They started a practice squad safety. Derwin James, I think their top 3 safeties were out. Bosa was out. Luckily, they just shipped off J.C. Jackson, who was, a horrible signing, but I don't know. I never have faith in the Chargers. You guys know that. Doesn't really matter who they're playing. I always foresee them just losing in some crazy way like they always do. But I'm hoping Eckler's back. Hopefully the defense is a little healthier. And the only thing I'm concerned about is Micah Parsons. If they can neutralize him, I don't expect them to take him out the way the 49ers just did, but hopefully they can limit him.
I hope you just watch that tape and this double Parsons, because if they double Parsons, they're going to be fine.
I mean, part of the deal was Parsons just kept going at Trent Williams, and I don't know why they didn't move him around more. They just kept having him go at the best left tackle in the league, and so I expect they'll be moving him. We'll see Parsons coming on a blitz up the middle, going over the center. Well, he'll be moving around this game. That's for sure.
Yeah, usually they move him around a lot. But I mean, he was invisible against the Niners, and I'm hoping that'll be the case this week. But I don't know if the Chargers' offensive line is as good as the Niners. But I expect the Cowboys to bounce back. It's definitely an easier defense to play against. So if Eckler's back, I think that's the biggest thing for me. Because if Eckler isn't all the way back, or if for some reason he doesn't play at all this week, they're not going to have a running game once again, and I just don't know. But
it'll also kind of be interesting to watch the Chargers offense for, coming off the bye week, another week away from the Mike Williams injury, see how they game plan around it and see how they work around it. Do they use more tight ends? Do they get Quentin Johnson more involved, or is it going to be a bigger Josh Palmer game? We know Keenan Allen's going to get 12 targets, but who's going to, Herbert's going to throw 40 times. So who's going to be the guy?
Yeah, I keep waiting for them to get Quentin Johnson more involved, but
well, I mean, Keenan Allen's going to get shadowed by who's the number 1 DB now on.
Diggs had gotten hurt, so I don't even know who it is now.
Gilmore. I mean, but I don't know.
Gilmore. So
Allen moves around a lot. He plays in the slot. I don't know if he'll shadow him necessarily. I think Gilmore's more of an outside corner, so
stays on one side of the field.
Yeah, I mean, I think Keenan Allen will still have, he'll have a big game. But
yeah.
I guess, one thing that's kind of maybe under the radar is that the Chargers do have Kellen Moore. He's very familiar with the Cowboys.
Yeah.
So hopefully he can, put together a game plan to attack them. And but we'll see. So should be a better game than the 49ers and Cowboys game. So
yeah, Cowboys back primetime games with this one being Monday night. Coming off that loss, I would probably put my money on the Cowboys. Sounds like Tim agrees with me going against Manny here. But it could be, I think, a big Pollard game. Chargers are a team you can run on, and so Pollard, they can really get him going. That can open some things up in the play action game, which is really where Dak is most comfortable. Get CeeDee Lamb over the top a couple times.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. The Chargers' run defense is it's almost like they flip-flopped this year. Last year they couldn't stop the run. They could, teams couldn't really pass on them, and this year teams are just throwing up and down the field on them. But they're kind of stopping the run better. So, but I mean, Pollard, he could hurt you catching or running. So I'm sure he'll have a better game. Well, Cowboys offense as a whole is going to have a much better game than last week. So, yeah.
Yeah, they'll have a little fire under their belly, right? That's for sure.
You would hope.
Had a couple down weeks, so I'm sure he'll want to have a good bounce back. Eckler is a big key here. I think if Justin Herbert has him as the outlet valve there, he'll be able to get some big chunk plays out of that. We'll see. I'm with you guys. I think there's going to be a second person on wide receiver on the Chargers is going to have to step up, right? Because they've had 2 weeks to prepare for this game. They've known their opponent. They should know where to attack them in the South Zones, especially after watching the last game. So, Brock made it look like they were Swiss cheese out there. So I would expect Herbert. If he had to have me pick between Herbert and Brock, I'm taking Herbert.
I'd take Herbert as well.
10 out of 10 times. So, but
I'll still take Shanahan over Staley.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it just if you could imagine Herbert in the 49ers offense, nothing against Brock, but it's Brock's got the better weapons for sure, especially now that Mike Williams is out. So, but I hope that Justin can do what Brock just did to the Cowboys. That would be awesome.
So Cody and Tim are on the Cowboys, and I'm on the Chargers. So we'll see how it goes.
But just to be clear, I think all three of us are rooting for the Chargers.
I mean, of course, I want the Chargers to win. I'm physically unable to have any faith in them. So
you can recuse yourself from this one, Tim. Yeah. All right, but that's the show. Thank you guys very much. Great stuff. As always, great week. Looking forward to the matchups Thursday night. It's going to be here before we know it. Again, I'm expecting a big blow from some random person either on Denver or on KC. So we'll see what happens. Thursday nights have been wild this year, but thank you guys. Appreciate it. We'll chat next week. And everyone out there, subscribe. Hope you enjoy the show. Have a good one.
All right. Thank you.
All right, everybody.
See you guys.
Thank you.
All right. See you.